excuse me, you had the opportunity to work with Moroccan storytellers.
Yes.
One of whom was this, it sounds like sort of a legend in Moroccan storytelling. He's been doing it for 50 years.
Yes.
And you got to interview him through a translator.
I did, yeah.
So can you tell us just a little bit about that, what you
and
talked
it was
about?
interesting because I had seen him perform in this cafe. It's called Cafe Clock. It's a Brit expat, has this cafe, and he's got one in Fez, and he's got one in Marrakesh.
Is that the Clock something?
Cafe Clock.
Cafe Clock, right.
Yep. And so, very cool place, great spot to hang.
Yep.
Highly recommend it.
Okay.
But
next time.
He performed there. What's going on there is that these younger Moroccans are learning these traditional oral stories that have been handed down. That this storyteller's older,
Hajj, I think was his name.
Man,
yep.
has been doing for 50 years, right, in the Medinas, the public squares around.
And just quickly, are they learning because that's just what's done in Morocco, or is it because storytelling's sort of having a revival? Or I'm just curious.
The latter. I mean, they're creating that revival. Mm-hmm. I think, whatever motivated them, they want to capture these stories before they die with the older storytellers, right?
Yep.
So they want to hold on to that tradition. They're learning these stories and learning that form. So that was really great to see, because these are more westernized, younger Moroccans who were up there also doing storytelling. And so what was great was to see them do those stories, and they're learning those stories, and those stories tend to be more fable-like. There's some humor. There's a lot of humor in there.
Yep.
They have a little moral, but it's not too heavy. A little twist, it's like the ugliest man in the village gets the king's daughter.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
But to see that, and then what I did because of what we were teaching folks, we were trying to use that form, but also talk about the Western style, the personal moth style. First person, true stories.
Because Moroccan, according to, I think Aaron's afterward was saying that Moroccan is always third person. Traditionally
exactly.
Third person,
They are,
yep.
Yeah, exactly. They are like 1001 Nights stories.
Yep.
So what I did when I interviewed him through a translator, I wanted him to do basically a Western style story, because I think this guy's been traveling around for 50 years telling stories. He's got to have good stories.
Right, of his own, you mean?
Of his own.
Yeah.
So he really took to that. He lit up. He's such a natural performer. First of all, I'll just say, I saw him perform in Berber. Right. So
just the local language, or one of there's Arabic as a main language, and then Berber, what's it called? I forget. Anyway, Berber. We'll call it Berber. Right. There's another language.
Whatever the language is called. But I don't speak Arabic either, so it wouldn't matter to me. But he was so animated, and he made funny voices, and he'd sing, and he would dance around, that it was completely entertaining.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. When I don't speak the language and I'm still transfixed.
Yeah.
So I wanted to interview him about his experiences, and he started talking about how he got into storytelling as a young guy, and his family wasn't crazy about it. And it was a great story about him as a young man sort of doing this, something that wasn't quite maybe respectable in his family's eyes.
Right.
Or
maybe antiquated. It was traditional.
Or whatever.
A
little
thing,
too, in some cultures, it used to be in this culture, like show business was considered sort of, déclassé. It was like not, right? People who were involved in showbiz, theater people, were not like movie stars today. They were considered sort of,
out, just
part of the
whatever the
the demi-monde.
Outcast, not outcast, offcast,
marginal people, right?
Yeah.
So he was great, and he told that story, just sitting there talking, because he's a natural, and he's a bit of a ham, like a good storyteller, and he took right to it.
Right.
So that was really fun to see. Of course, he could do that easily.
Right.
And these young Moroccans also, when they were seeing us and what we were doing, and what I was doing when I was performing there, were doing their own versions of sort of personal stories. So they kind of got into it too.
Right. And
so
again,
it was
the
really
first time
fun.
Probably for them.
Yes. It was really fun to see that sort of cross-fertilization of folks.
And did it go both ways? Did you guys also do... well, no, you didn't know their traditional stories, so you probably couldn't...
No, someone did. One, I can't remember who it was. Someone did that, sort of borrowed that technique to tell a story that was about our group and the trip, but through the lens of a fable.
Okay,
like
interesting.
third person.
Yeah.
But with a very fable-like quality, which is what their stories have.
Yeah.
It was interesting because Christina mentioned after we heard these stories, and sometimes people would translate to us basically what the story was about.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and she was saying, "Did you ever notice there's always someone getting beheaded in these stories?" So like they're ancient stories.
They're old stories.
They're old stories. There's a lot of beheading going on.